Hey guys, I'm Nisa Homey. Today I'm sharing a healthy payasam recipe with Aval, also known as Poha. This Aval payasam is easy to make and takes just under 20 to 30 minutes to prepare. A perfect healthy dessert for the whole family. So let's get started with the recipe. To make Aval payasam, into a kadai, I'm adding in 1.5 tablespoon A2 desi ghee. Once the ghee is heated, reduce the flame to the lowest and add in 1 handful or about 8 to 10 cashew nuts and lightly roast the cashew nuts. And once the cashew nuts are lightly roasted, remove to a plate. Next, I'm adding in a handful or about 1.5 tablespoon of golden raisins, and I'm lightly roasting the raisins. Once the raisins puffs up and is lightly roasted, remove to the plate. Next, I'm adding in 2 tablespoons sliced coconut pieces. Lightly roast the coconut pieces. Once the coconut pieces are lightly roasted and is golden in color, remove to the plate. I'm going to keep this aside. This is to garnish the payasam. Into the hot ghee, I'm adding in 1 cup of aval, also known as poha. And I'm lightly roasting the poha. Now I'm using Kerala Matta rice poha, which is slightly thicker than white rice poha. Instead of Kerala Matta rice poha, you can use any local variety of poha which you can source locally. This is one of the easiest and quickest payasam recipe which you can make in the last minute and takes just under 20 to 30 minutes to make. A couple of minutes later, the poha is lightly roasted. Into this, I'm adding in 1 cup of crushed jaggery. Along with this, I'm adding in 2 tablespoons water. The water is added to help the jaggery melt. Now mix this really well and allow the jaggery to melt completely. Remember, this is a heavy bottomed kadai, hence the flame is on the lowest. Allow the poha to roast in the jaggery for about 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, I'm adding in 1 cup of thin coconut milk, also known as second coconut milk. Give it a good mix. Cover it with the lid and allow the poha to get cooked. Remember, the flame is on the lowest. 2 minutes later, open the lid, give it a good stir, and at this stage the poha is nicely cooked. So I'm going to allow it to simmer in the second coconut milk or thin coconut milk for another 2 to 3 minutes. While the poha is simmering in the second coconut milk, into my small stone grinder, I'm adding in 6 cardamoms and I'm crushing the cardamoms. Once the cardamoms are crushed, I'm removing the seeds. Into this, I'm adding in a fat pinch of jeera and I'm crushing the jeera and the cardamom seeds. Once the jeera and the cardamoms are ground, I'm keeping this aside. Meanwhile, the poha has thickened and the coconut milk has reduced. Into this, I'm adding in half cup of thick coconut milk, also known as the first coconut milk. Give it a good stir. Add in the freshly ground jeera and cardamom powder. 1/4 teaspoon dry ginger powder, also known as chukkupodi in Malayalam. And once the payasam starts to boil, turn off the flame. Add in the fried nuts, raisins and coconut pieces. Give it a good stir. And my quick and easy aval payasam is ready to serve. So guys, do try this healthy aval payasam recipe and let me know how it turned out. A healthy rice kheer recipe without refined sugar, refined oil, ghee or even dairy milk. It's super easy to make at home and super healthy. So let's get started with the recipe. To make rice kheer, I'm using 3 tablespoons of a local variety of broken white rice. You can use any variety of white rice you have at hand. Into a small bowl, I'm adding in 3 tablespoons of broken white rice. Into this, I'm adding in some water and I'm going to wash and rinse it a couple of times. Once washed and rinsed, I'm adding in some more water and I'm allowing the rice to soak for about 15 minutes. It's always ideal to soak grains to help release the phytic acid content, which helps in better digestion and better nutrient absorption. I have also soaked some almonds overnight and I'll be peeling the skin and slicing the almonds to use in the rice kheer. Along with the almonds, I had also soaked 1 tablespoon of raisins overnight. It's about 15 minutes and the rice has soaked well. So I'm going to rinse it under running water and keep it on a strainer. Add the strained rice into a pan. Add in 4 cups of second and third coconut milk. I have already shared a detailed video on how to make coconut milk from fresh coconut. The links will be updated below this video. Please do check it out. Turn on the flame and allow this to come to a boil. And while it is boiling, just give it a stir so that you can make sure that the rice does not get stick to the bottom of the pan. And once it starts to boil, give it a good stir. Reduce the flame to the lowest and cover and allow the rice to get cooked on low flame. I'm making sure that I'm not covering it fully. I'm leaving a gap so that the steam can release out, which will prevent the coconut milk from spilling over. 15 minutes later, the rice has cooked really well and the coconut milk has absorbed into the rice. You can see that the rice has cooked really well. Into this I'm adding in 1/3 cup of jaggery powder. This organic jaggery does not contain any sand or dirt or dust particles. So what I did was I just crushed the jaggery and measured it into the cup. Since it does not contain any sand or dirt or dust particles, I'm adding it directly into the pan. Give it a good stir and allow the jaggery to melt along with the rice. Now, if your jaggery has sand, dirt or dust particles, you may need to melt the jaggery and then sieve and add it into the pan. If you feel you want more sweetness, you can add in a couple of extra tablespoons of jaggery. Stir it for a couple of minutes just to make sure that the small jaggery pieces are melted and incorporated into the rice mix. And now the jaggery is nicely melted. I have crushed and ground 6 cardamom seeds. I like to use the peel of the cardamom in the kheer as that also has a subtle flavor. However, if you don't like to add in the peel, you can remove it and add in only the cardamom powder. Next, I'm adding in the overnight soaked raisins, the overnight soaked almonds which I have sliced into thin pieces. Give it a stir. Add in 1 cup of thick coconut milk, also known as the first coconut milk. You can see how thick the coconut milk is. At this stage, remember the flame is on the lowest. I'm going to give this all a good mix. And once it starts to boil, I'll turn off the flame. I'm sprinkling in a couple of strands of saffron. And lastly, I'm sprinkling in finely chopped pista. Adding pista is entirely optional, but it will give a nice color to the rice kheer. Note that I did not use any oil or ghee in this recipe. And my super healthy rice kheer is ready to serve.